For this edition of AAM Media Matters, I'm joined by Chris Iles, Vice President of Communications and Brand Marketing for the Minnesota Star Tribune, which recently underwent a rebrand from the Minneapolis Star Tribune. Chris, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Your company just introduced new branding, including a fresh visual identity and tagline, "The Heart and Voice of the North."
Yeah.
Can you tell me about how the rebrand came about and how audience feedback shaped the initiative?
So we are repositioning ourselves to be the news outlet of record for the entire state of Minnesota. We historically have been very metro focused. And as we make significant investments into our greater Minnesota reporting resources, we really wanted a name that reflects our ambitions to be the statewide media outlet that we have become. We are a part of the Midwest, but we see a stronger identity with people from Minnesota identifying as being from the North, which carries with it unique challenges and opportunities. So that's really what the rebrand is all about, a statewide resource that represents the head and heart of people throughout the state of Minnesota in the heart and voice of the North.
For your website redesign, what are some of the best practices that were taken into account?
Yeah, really, we wanted discoverability to be paramount for the redesign, and we partnered with a great agency called Code and Theory that has deep expertise in building websites and digital backends for a variety of media companies and beyond. And so content discoverability was key, ease of use, better design was really crucial, making better use of our photojournalism and photography to tell stories. And really kind of the next phase of that is going to be better personalization. So as our subscribers and new users come back to us and visit us more and more, making each visit feel unique to them and personal to them, we think is going to pay dividends in the future.
What are some innovative ways your organization has found to engage younger audiences and ensure they see value in subscribing to local news?
Yeah, honestly, this is something that we're still trying to figure out, and I think all of our counterparts across media are trying to figure out. So I'm not here to say that we haven't figured out. I'm here to say that we are trying to figure it out alongside many others. One thing that we're leaning into is we've gotten into some more of the influencer marketing side of things, which is not something you're seeing every news organization do. We think if we are going to reach younger, more diverse users, we need to be reaching them in the platforms where they're congregating. And influencer marketing, we believe, is one way that we can do that. So that's one thing we're testing. The other thing we're trying to do is represent younger and more diverse voices within our pages and on our website. So, through our Strib Voices efforts, we have signed on 11 new community columnists that are providing us with commentary throughout the course of the year and might be talking about things that you would not necessarily expect to see in the Minnesota Star Tribune. For example, we have our first ever cannabis columnist as legalization takes place here in Minnesota.
In the Star Tribune's announcement about the rebrand, it was mentioned that the company would be rolling out a culture of experimentation.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on what that means and why it's so important to your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So our publisher and CEO spent a significant amount of time in the tech industry, and he's applying a lot of those tech leadership principles to a legacy media organization, which I think is a unique approach in our industry. And part of that tech background is testing, iteration, learning, optimization, all of that. So we, for the first time, have a chief product officer that leads a team that builds innovative new products that we can build, test, put out in the market, and iterate based on user feedback. Some of the other stuff that is pretty interesting, we're about to announce some partnerships with major media organizations, some in the AI space, to test AI for journalistic purposes. So really, it incorporates a lot of things. We're doing some unique stuff in the event space. So physical activations, experiential activations, which are not things that you would normally expect to see out of a legacy media institution like ours, are all things that are on the table as we figure out what the next iteration of local media looks like.
What advice would you give to other news organizations that are considering a rebrand or digital overhaul?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer at this point because we just went through that process. So I would say
Okay.
like our key learnings are going to take some time to play out. I mean, you mentioned the culture of experimentation a few times. I think that is going to be absolutely crucial for any media organization, and I think one of the biggest challenges we face is shifting the perception of what journalism is and can be. Younger, more diverse audiences have been telling us for years, the market has been telling us what types of content are resonating with them. And I think we need journalism to come closer to that type of content rather than expecting those audiences to come closer to what we consider journalism to be.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining
thank
us
you.
for today's edition of AAM Media Matters.
Yeah, thanks for having me.